Captains, some time ago, we shared our view on the current problems with aircraft carriers. What? Oh, problems, huh? And related mechanics, as well as a draft of the changes. We conducted several public tests in 2024 and 2025. Initially, we planned one large rework that would solve all issues at once. This approach worked well. Beg to differ. We are switching to an iterative approach where we focus on delivering significant improvements targeted at resolving issues one at a time rather than all at once. This means we'll be gradually releasing changes that have proven viable during internal and external testing on a cadence of several updates during this year. However, the scope of changes that will make it into the game may differ from what was tested before. The process will continue until we achieve the set goals. The meetings will continue until morale improves. And after that, we can pause the introduction of new changes. Okay. We have many more things cooking in our development kitchen. Oh my god. Today we will focus on the changes that are coming in Update 15.2. Patrol Fighters changes. Recently, we refined the tactical role of fighters by removing their ability to spot enemy ships while increasing... someone should really tell enemy CV players this. Someone really needs to let the average carrier player know about this change, because I still have people dropping fighters on my forehead. We're going to change patrol fighters so that aircraft carrier commanders will be able to send them to a selected area of the map. Right? They announced this like quite a while ago. Okay? You will be able to activate this consumable while controlling a squadron. When you activate the consumable, the minimap will appear. You can select an area within a certain range from the current position of your aircraft. It takes some time for them to reach the chosen area. And the farther it is, so we're basically, Essex cannot snipe planes anymore. Okay. I see. So Essex's primary value, which is nuking enemy planes, probably won't happen anymore. Unless, because either way, if you have to pull up the minimap, then Essex will no longer be able to catch fighter planes full stop. Okay. It takes some time. Once you launch, a counter will display how long. The consumables tooltip shows the time required to reach an area located at the maximum range. In the designated area, smoke and an icon will appear to let people know they're coming. Okay. It will display the time remaining until they arrive. Okay. Enemies will also be able to see them. That's good. That's very good. Okay. So it so far sounds like this is a giant buff to everything that's not interceptor based. Because the whole value of interceptors is you can like fly your planes on top of an enemy squadron, call the interceptors, and guarantee they all die or they have to be recalled. So at minimum, if you have to pull up the map, like unless there's going to be a quick key to use them the way they currently work, this will pretty much destroy Essex's ability to counter enemy CVs. It'll still counter them because it can send interceptors wherever, but it'll deter, it won't actually counter. Okay. All commander skills related will apply to the consumable. Enhanced reactions will also increase the time it takes fighters. Yep, just like it currently works. Okay. Cooldown will begin after the squadron leaves the battle or is destroyed. Alright, let's see it. Okay, so do you have to open the minimap? Hang on, let's go back. Do you have to open the minimap? The person presses the key. Okay, so you have to open the minimap. So a gigantic nerf to Essex. Okay. Which, listen, I love Essex for its ability to fuck the enemy carrier, but it is kind of dumb that certain aircraft carriers like literally can't play the game against an Essex. So it's It's overall a big nerf to Essex, probably a buff to every other carrier, to their ability to help teammates at least. Because fighter squadrons deter enemy carriers, they don't counter enemy carriers. Whereas Essex interceptors actually counter the enemy carrier. Kind of, yeah, I mean, it kind of is like RTS for fighters, yeah. Okay. You press the button, the map appears. So, no quick launch. So, yes, you will. So, like, if there's an FDR on the enemy team and you're in Essex, you can't just guarantee he can't play the game. Okay. There's the smoke. There's the duration. Okay. Very good that the enemy knows it's coming. That's good, obviously. Evasive maneuver. Some aircraft squadrons are equipped with the repair consumable, which increases their survivability. Okay. Its usage is not clearly indicated to the surface ship players. That's true. Which can make AA defenses appear ineffective, because they are. Since it seems that enemy aircraft do not receive sufficient damage during attack because they don't. When in reality they are simply repairing themselves, aka not taking damage. To make such interactions more consistent, we are replacing the repair consumable with another one, evasive maneuver. Surface ships will be able to notice when an enemy squadron is using evasive maneuver by the change in the color of their AA damage, as well as by the series of maneuver animations. Okay, more player info is always good. The second issue with the repair consumable is that it partially restores a squadron's HP pool, meaning its effectiveness dependent on how... Yes. Yes, correct. That's what balances the repair consumable, is that it only really works if you have full squadrons. It's only worth using if you want to risk entire flights of planes. That's why it has any level of... Oh no. In contrast, evasive maneuver will provide the same chance to avoid damage regardless of... Oh no. Regardless of how many aircraft remain in the squadron. In other words, even if your squadron is down to just a few aircraft, activating this will significantly increase the chances of reaching the enemy and carrying out an attack, but in exchange, the new consumable won't be able to repair aircraft retroactively. Yeah, but that's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. Overall, following the introduction, the survivability of aircraft will remain roughly the same. However, proper timing will be even more critical. By activating the consumable, an aircraft squadron will be able to avoid a significant percentage. With standard parameters, also it can be buffed. Evasive maneuver allows them to avoid 80% of incoming damage. Squadrons that previously had the repair squadron consumable with non-standard parameters will also receive the evasive maneuver consumable. Repair specialist skill, which increased the action time, will be replaced with a new skill, maneuvering specialist. Reload time minus 5% on extra, so basically the same thing. The India Delta signal will increase the action time by 20%. So basically, if what's going to happen now is if you have full flights of planes, it'll be just as good as the old heel. If you have limited squadron count, it'll be significantly better than the old heel. So this is a straight buff to this consumable. Because, like, the way it works now is each plane heals a certain amount, and the damage is spread across the squadron. So, like, if the planes can each heal let's just throw out a random number. If the planes can each heal 1,000 a second, and you're pumping out 1,000 a second, then like you effectively don't do any damage at all. It's gonna make flak like basically useless if the carrier times this right. Like the ships with the nuke flak will basically not shoot any planes down now. I mean, this is a buff to carriers. It makes the repair squadron consumable work when you don't have healthy squadrons. Currently, it doesn't really help you if the squadron has no planes in it. So this is a straight buff to carriers. Okay. So so far the RTS fighters, I don't really want to say it's a buff. It's not really fair to call that a buff to carriers. Well, yeah, no, it is. It is. Yeah. It's a buff. It means that you can, it's going to increase, you know what it's going to do? It's going to increase the skill gap between good and bad CV players, because a good CV player will like min-max covering his team with fighters while fucking people with damage. Essex is getting a giant nerf with this, Ashley. Essex is the one carrier that has clearly been nerfed by patrol fighter changes. Its primary crazy ability, which is calling interceptors on the forehead of enemy squadrons, will no longer, you can't do that anymore. There's now a delay. You can't fly your planes on top of the FDR bombers, hit the T key to call your squadron in, and nuke all of his planes. There's now a delay. You will not be a hard counter to Malta, FDR, and a handful of other carriers. I mean, it's a quality of life buff to all CVs, and the fact that you don't have to fly to a spot to give your team fighters. But one of Essex's two really good abilities is basically destroyed with this change. It doesn't. Okay, it's not worth trying to explain these things. It's a very fundamental concept. The way Essex interceptors currently work, if you launch them on the forehead of certain squadrons, they attack with like 1 second before the squadron can get away. They now will not attack within 1 second before the squadron gets away. It's very simple. The delay to pull up the minimap is going to basically prevent you from sniping CVs with Essex. It is a gigantic nerf to one of Essex's primary values, which is it can hard counter certain carriers. Like an FDR cannot play the game if Essex hard counters it. You won't be able to do that anymore. But for every other carrier, for carriers with normal fighters, it's going to just widen the skill gap. Like a good carrier will be able to deter the enemy carrier and farm maximum damage. Like good carrier players will just farm more damage while still giving their team fighters. Yeah, but again, that's a deterrence. You can deter the enemy. Like, if all you want to do is say, I don't want the FDR for the next minute to drop that cap point, yes, your ability to do that, but that's not the point of Essex's interceptors. The point of Essex's interceptors is not to deter a carrier from going into 2 grid squares. The point of the interceptors is they attack so fast that you can just snipe enemy squadrons with it. You will never be able to do that now. That is a gigantic nerf to Essex's ability to hard counter enemy carriers. Okay. 80% damage reduction. You can buff the shit out of it, right? Alright, so let's see. I mean, why are we testing this on bots? They're not gonna, like... What am I supposed... That's the... Alright, bro. Okay, so the planes are coming in. They're losing no HP. He hits the consumable, and they lose the same amount of HP because this is a bot not using Def AA or Focus Fire or anything. What a great example. Manually controlled carrier consumables. We introduced the ability to manually control the secondary guns. At the same time, we improved carriers' fire resistance and reduced both the duration and cooldown of their DCP. We're further expanding your control over aircraft carriers in battle by adding the option to disable automatic activation use of DCP and fighters. This will give experienced captains the opportunity to use the consumable at the optimal moment. So a giant buff to carriers, okay. You can switch between auto and manual modes by shift plus the key, okay. Game will remember your settings. All right, so a huge buff to carriers. So 2 giant buffs to carriers. Three buffs. Okay, so we're buffing carriers in 3 different ways, but in ways that widen the skill gap, okay. Interesting. You can switch between, okay, blah, blah, blah. We already read that. Note that in light of the coming changes, during 1 week, you will be able to retrain. Okay. Makes sense. Okay, so we are buffing CVs. Do you think they'll ever buff fighter consumable? No, I don't. I unfortunately do not. Okay. So, change number 1 is that you have like RTS call-in patrol fighters, which will improve the ability of every carrier to damage farm, but is a specific nerf to one of Essex's unique abilities, which is hard countering certain enemy carriers. So all CVs but Essex get a giant buff. Essex loses a unique ability but gains... It's going to free you up to farm more damage in Essex because it's just kind of freeing up carriers to farm more. I would say that's really what this change does, is you don't have to help your team anymore. That's really what they're doing. You don't have to go out of your way to help your team. You could just farm damage exclusively the whole game. Even in Essex, there will be no value to trying to snipe enemy squadrons. So all carriers will farm more damage now, because they'll never have to go out of their way to drop fighters for someone. Interesting. It's easier. Well, I mean, if you want to throw squadrons away for no reason. The only time you can overlap interceptors with Essex is when you throw the squadron away. So, like, yeah, you could launch rockets, drop interceptors, recall the rockets. Launch bombers, call patrol fighters, get rid of the bombers. Launch torp bombers, call interceptors. Like, yeah, I mean, if you want to throw your squadrons away, you could create a wall of interceptors. But that would also be very fucking stupid to do that. And they're also not telling you what the arrival time is too. And I think that's kind of like a very crucial thing. Is like, is it, you know what I mean? Like, it really depends on, so like, you can see here, right? You hit the fighter key, and like, you have no range, right? Like, you can see the bubble of where you're allowed to call the fighters. Like, oh no, that's where it is. So, okay, so here it is, right? So the question would be, this is what? 10 km from 10 km from the plains, right? So the question would be like, let's say I was here and I wanted to call fighters on the center of ACAP, which is something like 10 to 12 kilometers away, maybe. How long will it take them to get there? Like that's kind of the crucial question, right? Now, no matter what, you're never again in Essex going to snipe squadrons. But if your goal is to like say wall off a cap point, then like what you could do is you could say send these squadrons for this Hampshire. 3 seconds before you're going to drop, you call interceptors here, and then you launch planes, and the second you launch the next squadron, you call interceptors here. So, like, if you time it perfectly, you could probably do, like, a double call, you know? Like, if you time it perfectly, I would assume, and the range was perfect, right? Like, if your ship was 15 km from here, and your planes were 15 km from here, then you could call, dump the planes, launch, dump, call planes. And so you could probably call interceptors like 5 to 10 seconds apart, and then they would theoretically arrive at roughly the same time. And then you could double interceptor drop or double fighter drop, you know? But to give up the ability to like guarantee the enemy carrier can't play the game for that ability, I would argue on Essex is not good. But this is a buff to all carriers. I mean, it's a buff to the damage output of all carriers. So, change number 1, all carriers will farm more damage. Because you'll never have to fly planes just to give people fighters. So all CVs get a damage output buff. All CVs that currently have a plane heal get a small buff. And all CVs get a buff. So we are buffing carriers in 3 different ways. Okay. I'm intrigued. I don't really know why we're buffing carriers in 3 different ways. It's realistically just going to make it so that, like, when the enemy has a Unicum carrier and you have a 45 win rate carrier, you just get fisted even harder. I mean, I fear that that's kind of what's ultimately going to happen. Because, like, by freeing up skilled carrier players to never have to help their team, because they can help their team with the click of a button from anywhere on the map, like, by freeing up the 65 win rate carrier player to just farm nonstop and still support his team while farming nonstop, I feel like the blowouts on carrier diff skill games are just going to go crazy now. Good Devblog? This is one of the worst Devblogs I've ever read, bro. Are there any people that actually think this is good? Are there people who think this is good? Okay. All right. I was concerned for a minute. And like this is a huge, again, a huge buff to good carrier players, because one of like kind of like one of the strats you can run, especially in like a division, is deliberately grief a carrier's DCP like right at the start of the game, and then get like a quadruple permafire and basically one-shot it. Like, that was a thing, like, whereas now, if you're in a carrier and someone lights you on a single fire, you just let that shit burn. You're not forced to rep it, especially when subs, like, kind of a wicked strat in subs right now is if you can get in sonar range of the enemy carrier, just ping him to guarantee the DCP gets griefed. Doing this without an AA work too is crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. Cause like the change to the heal is insane to me. Now, here's a question. Here's a question that I have. Is the manual consumable control all or nothing? Get fucked. So you can keep your ASW planes in aimbot mode, but keep your DC. Oh my god, man. That was the one thing I was gonna say. Is like, if you could toggle all on or all off, then that would actually be balanced. But no, you can pick. You can fucking pick. So you'll keep your ASW planes in aimbot automatic mode, and then put your DCP in normal mode. Oh my fucking god, man. Wow. Wow. Okay. So we are buffing the survivability of carriers for good players. We are buffing carriers' ability to avoid damage on their planes for good players. And we are buffing the ability to damage farm and never worry about helping your team for good players. So we are giving carriers massive buffs. Okay. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand how you can write this devblog and think that this is addressing current problems with aircraft carriers. Fighters no longer spotting is very good, but fighters no longer spotting like only really matters to a single class, a single subclass, which is stealth torpedo ships. It's good. Like I definitely think that it's good that fighters don't spot. Yeah, that's obviously a good thing. But given the fact that fighters don't spot, why are we now giving carriers huge buffs? Because like they've already done that. The fighters already don't spot. They've already implemented that change. Like this devblog is just a list of buffs for carriers. Okay. I mean, carriers are weak, unplayably weak, so we needed to buff them in 3 different ways, I guess. Very cool. Okay. Well, that is a diabolical devblog. Wow. That is a diabolical devblog. Wow. Whoa, I just got fucking flashbanged. Alright, let's look at the... So this is dropping on Wednesday. Claim my bonus? Oh, I'll do it later. Okay. So this is dropping on Wednesday. Lunar New Year. Log in during update 15.1 to receive a gift bundle. New permanent camo of your choice. Okay, are any of these good? Pretty good, I like that one. Okay. They're all pretty. What? Can anyone tell me why? Can anyone tell me why Holland has like the most skins in the game, guys? They still pump out King of the fucking Sea camos for goddamn Holland. Why can I not have camos on ships that are worth playing? They're all good camos, though. Okay. Renewed Dragon Port. Unlock premium special ships for free. Participate in the leaderboards. Okay. You can get up to 4 ships, including 1 tier 10 ship, or up to 5 non-tier 10 ships for free, just playing casually. So that's Z52. This is the most concerning thing Wargaming has done in many years, by the way. This is the most concerning thing they have done in a long time. To my knowledge, they have never given steel ships away. It's very... This is a scary precedent. This is a very scary precedent. They're trying to sneak this in, guys. I hate to break it to you. They are trying to sneak this in and see if anyone bitches about it. Because if people let them just give away a tier 10 steel ship in some random event, then they know they can get away with that shit. That's the Schlieffen camo? Well, okay. This looks good. This looks kind of cool. This looks like complete ass. This looks like complete ass. Two new containers, including Incheon. When you get an event ship, corresponding stage of the party line is completed. These 2 containers can also drop things like Yemeng, Messina, and Independencia. Okay. You got to gamble for the 2 ships worth getting. Okay. What's in the event pass? Dog shit amount of steel. What tier? What tier are these for? That's for Harbin. Are these for any tier? Those are pretty good looking camos. I'm telling you, dude. My decision to buy the battle pass or not just literally comes down to, as long as they're stealing like 1 good camo, I basically buy it. Event second progression line. Eastern Dragon. Eastern Dragon. Okay. The Miyoko clone. Okay. List of full rewards. I would assume this is not tier dependent since it doesn't say. Okay. Unbreakable front. We now select the spawn sector. Now team bases. You can still win on points. You can choose 1 event consumable. Unique commander talents will be disabled. That's good. Don't care. 5 versus 5 on tier 7 DDs, 4v4 on tier 10 BBs, 3v3 on 3 Valparaisos each. 2 new ships, Pioneer and Chateaurenault, sail into the armory in update 15.1. You know, it's very funny, guys. We just dropped the Salvage for Victory event and the new premium captain, which eats up steel and research bureau points. What do we think these two ships are going to come out for? Definitely not for coal, right? Starting from the second week. Why do they do this now? Does anyone know? They never used to do this, and they've been doing this for like the last few patches. Okay. Pioneer will be available for 31,000 steel, which Pioneer looks really good, is what I would say. It looks very good. Chateaurenault is like if Legendary Mod Kleb still got to have good guns and the Torps went twice as far. Oh, look at that. Research points and steel. Boy, I sure hope you didn't use research points on those premium captain crates, and I sure hope you didn't use steel on that Surcuff salvage. You little piggy. Might want to get out your wallet and whale some crates now. Oh, it's a disaster. It really is just... Bot's HP and damage output has been slightly changed. Added separate stats for personal and division service rewards. Okay. Ship restrictions for clan battles are now shown in the tooltip. Very nice. That's good. That's good. I didn't know that was a bug. I thought that was a feature. Ay, 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 dude. Ay, ay, ay. So yeah, this is... Excuse me. This is Chateaurenault. This is Kleber. Chateaurenault gets the same concealment as Legendary Mod Kleb at the cost of going 3 knots slower. It has 5,000 more health. Again, Ledge Mod Kleb cuts this DPM in half. The guns are twice as good as Ledge Kleb. The torpedoes are basically as good as Ledge Kleb Torps, except they also just randomly go 20 kilometers. The AA actually kind of exists. It's bad, but there's more anti-air. Gets a def AA. Same depth charges. Gets a torpedo reload booster. So, Chateaurenault compared to Ledge Kleb is 3 knots slower, same concealment, same maneuverability, significantly better guns, significantly better torps, a bonus FAA consumable, a bonus TRB consumable. It's basically like if Wargaming buffed Ledge Kleb to actually be worth half of a fuck in random battles, it would just be this. And what's even more diabolical is that they're selling it for research points. So it's competing for the same resource as Kleb's Ledge Mod. Honestly insane. honestly fucking insane. And the Pioneer has not been balanced yet. To my knowledge, they haven't nerfed or buffed it. They've just let it ride. Yeah, I know for sure, Hazim. Which is amazing because it has some of the best long range torps in the game. So like, it's really funny that they suicide in it because the boat can YOLO rush very effectively. It's also like better than Cassard at just spamming torps. You don't know how modern will ever be able to afford that boat. What happened to this thing? Is this thing still coming out? Probably not. I think it was in this Devblog, right? I don't recall. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe that Pioneer received any nerfs or buffs in testing. I don't recall that it did. Basically, what Pioneer is a way better version of Plymouth with better armor, better guns, better radar, basically better everything. Better, debatably better torps, better for YOLOing, worse for spamming. But yeah, basically, it is like if Plymouth was way better, it would be the Pioneer, kind of a thing. So very interesting stuff, obviously. And then the way Wargaming pretended to balance it, they pretended to balance it, which is funny, in a very funny way. Your consumables have like a small, or they have a, kind of like how sub-surveillance works, they have a longer initial reload. So let's go down here. It's for the radar. Preparation time, there you go. So the sub-surveillance and the radar cannot be used for the first 4 minutes. I think that's Aberdeen you're thinking of, Will Cadis. Yes, Aberdeen got hit with a giant nerf hammer because it was twice as good as Plymouth at a whole tier lower. But yeah, that one got a big nerf in the most recent one. This one. Was it this one? Where was the Aberdeen nerf announced? Was it this one? No, that's the one I just clicked on. Yeah, Aberdeen got a DPM nerf, a radar nerf, no more hydro. Right? Yeah, it is in this one. I'm blind. There it is. Yeah, they took 10% DPM away. They took a kilometer off the radar, and they took away the hydro. Because Aberdeen was a Plymouth with the same guns but better turret traverse, the same torps but one less per side, a significantly better smoke, a significantly better radar, and better armor. Like, initial announcement Aberdeen was a tier 10.5 Plymouth at tier 9. It was kind of outrageous. Pioneer is the better. I mean, it doesn't have Brisbane's amazing torps, so it's. I would kind of argue that Brisbane torps are so good that losing them is actually meaningful. But see, this is Plymouth armor scheme, right? See how this is 16? The bow gets overmatched by all 234 plus millimeter guns. And the side plating gets overmatched by all, what, 305s? Will overmatch this? Would 280s overmatch 19? I think so. Like, Golden Lion might overmatch this, but like, all 305s overmatch this thing everywhere. But what's very, very funny is that, what they've been doing, so like I think they did it with Aberdeen and I think they did it with, let's see, is it this one? The fuck is, no. This search, I'm pretty sure both Aberdeen and Pioneer have 25 extremities. No more. Might be this one. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Aberdeen gets 16. I could have sworn Pioneer was getting 25, though. I might be mixing them up, too. I could have sworn that I don't know what Devblog it's in, and this search function is just dog shit. Change the test ships. It should be a closed test 15-1. It's not this one though, right? Yeah, it's before that one. Changes the test ships. Changes. Unique upgrades, new ships. But it wasn't in this one. Was it all the way back in 1411? It was. Yep, there it is. It's Pioneer. Pioneer randomly is an up-armored Plymouth hull. God bless. Randomly up-armored Plymouth hull. So, compared to, you've got Brisbane and you've got Pioneer, and they have identical guns. So number one, they have identical guns. Pioneer has the better salvo weight. I would argue that just basically makes your guns better. Also, what is this, guys? What's this right here? Ah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Huh. Interesting. Why are the There you go, because they're Plymouth guns. So Plymouth has slightly better shell velocity than Brisbane, so you gain Plymouth's slightly better shell velocity on copy-paste Brisbane guns with higher salvo weight, which is good. You get a little bit worse range. You get worse turret traverse. So basically, the guns are kind of a wash. They're basically a wash. The torps are way worse. There's no getting around that. Brisbane torps are way better. They're the same torps that go 2.5 times farther, right? So basically, you lose Brisbane's torps to gain a significantly better hull, right? A very significantly better hull. You know, you guys got to remember that this is how many cruisers overmatch you, okay? If you're in a Brisbane, look at how many ships overmatch you. Look at how many cruisers in tier 8 to 11 overmatch Brisbane everywhere. 60 ships. Some of these are copies. There's like 4 copies. There are 60 ships in tier 8 to 11 that overmatch you. If you just limit it to ±1, it's even more bleak. Because there's 50 ships that overmatch you. How about just in your tier? 26 ships. Almost half the cruisers in your tier overmatch Brisbane. The only one of these cruisers that overmatches you is going to be Siegfried and Sevastopol. That's it. So you're actually going to be able to tank cruiser AP, which you cannot do. Also, Pioneer gets 75% of the guns in a super firing. You can go perfectly bow in Pioneer and not get overmatched by almost any cruiser in the game. So it's immeasurably more tanky than Brisbane. Immeasurably tankier. So basically your trade-off is your torps become dog shit compared to Brisbane. Your hull becomes god tier compared to Brisbane. You get the same radar, the same guns, with slightly less gun range. You gain a submarine surveillance. No hydro, so you lose the hydro to get a sub-surveillance and a crawling fucking smoke. You lose the super heal, obviously. So, like... But here's the thing, right? Brisbane only has a super heal because it's made out of... Like, this ship isn't made out of paper. This is a light cruiser. It's not an ultralight cruiser. It's a light cruiser. Should be the most DPM in the game for perfectly bowing cruisers. That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. It'll be 180. A little more, maybe? 190? 195? Almost 200,000 bow gun only DPM. That's pretty fucking good. That's an interesting question. Bow only cruiser DPM. Probably, no? I mean, like, you're tied with Smolensk, but Smolensk doesn't pen anything. You pen 30. The only ships that compete with you would be the ultralight caliber guns. Worcester's getting close. Yeah, you would. Yeah, you have the most. If you care about fighting enemy cruisers, oh dude, this thing might be cancer to fight in like a Des Moines. Because Des Moines has 2/3. I mean, Des Moines is pretty close. Des Moines is at 275. I mean, Des Moines is close. Salem is close. But yeah, I mean, you're rocking like slightly better than Des Moines bow gun DPM. That's kind of wicked. What ship? The Pioneer. Pioneer has 75% of the guns that can shoot straight ahead. But, yeah. So you do have the highest 30 mil pen bow gun only DPM. You do. And, Andre, they up-armored the Pioneer. It's a Plymouth hull, but they up-armored the bow to 25. So you can actually go bow into cruisers and not get damaged. Like, you can actually go bow in, even to, like, Henry's and Stalingrads and Marseilles, and not get nuked. Kinda crazy, man. The ship might be insane. What are the firing angles? See, like, you would just never, right? You would never use the gun. You would never use the back gun. 55 and 40. What's Plymouth? Plymouth is really bad. I don't think it's even that bad, though. Better forward, worse kiting. So better kiting angles, worse forward angles. But, like, you would never really feel the need to use your rear gun pushing in. Yeah. Yeah. Bit less power to weight. Brisbane's got the Minnow XL. So this won't accelerate quite as well. But then your max, look at your max speed compared to Plymouth. 2.5 knots better. Crazy. Oh, what's this, guys? That's right. You get a fucking airstrike. Kind of cool. 11-kilometer airstrike. Kind of cool. Crawling smoke. Brisbane radar. Sub surveillance. AA's garbage, just like Plymouth. Way better torps if you get rushed. Worse torps if you're spamming. Kind of funny. Kind of funny. Kind of humorous. That's interesting. You get a slightly worse pen. That is kind of interesting. Better impact angles, slightly better shell velocity. Yeah. Obviously a way worse seal. Yeah. Pioneer is gonna be, what is Pioneer gonna be super toxic against? Pioneer is going to be extremely toxic into battle cruisers with 30 decks. Battle cruisers with 30 decks are going to be like unplayable into this thing. At close range, obviously, where the shell velocity doesn't really matter. Because this thing can go bow in and use. It'll have over 200,000 DPM bow in. Yeah, Sevastopol and Siegfried are the two cruisers that can overmatch. Huge windsurfer Sevastopol. Sevastopol on top. Big if true. But, like, because, like, if you guys have played Svea, you know what I'm talking about. Svea has the same thing going for it, which is that it can't be overmatched by large caliber cruiser guns, but it has crazy firing angles, so Svea can just tank. Like, it can't take giant hits from cruiser AP. Yeah. Pioneer looks really cracked. Definitely, like, I would say the ship of the update. Always take huge hits in your Svea. Brother, that thing is the size of a destroyer, armored better than some heavy cruisers, and goes 46 knots with 9.2 detect and a short burst smoke. I simply don't know what to say to you if you take huge hits in Svea. One of the hardest cruisers in the game to kill. Yeah, I mean the ship looks crazy. So let's see how bad. So the thing with the Pioneer, right? The way Wargaming justifies it being this overpowered is that there's a preparation time on all the consumables. It doesn't show it here. So it's not for the smoke, not for the heal. It's just for the radar and sub surveillance, right? So 270 seconds, right? 270 seconds. Will I review? It'll depend on how you get it. It looks like a gamble thing. Lightning. If it's a gamble thing, I probably won't. It does look very funny. Something else that's very funny is that the Pan Asian captain has improved vigilance. I find that very comedic. What am I looking for? I'm looking for featured. I'm looking for this captain, which I can't look at, right? Enhanced skills. Improved AR. It's okay. His talents won't be the best on Pioneer, for sure. Nothing crazy. But, this takes 7.5% off your reload. This will be like the biggest candidate for 4.AA in the entire fucking game. Right? That's another 5. So you've got 270 seconds prep time. So you can get it down to 4 minutes, right? You can get the reload time down to 4 minutes. But this thing is going to be if you do not run 4.AA skill on Pioneer, you might be the world's biggest griefer. I love the WoWs. I do. Munir, did you know that 99% of gamblers quit one bet before they hit it big? So yeah, that's the one downside. The one downside of Pioneer is if you rush a cap, you can't insta radar. Right? You cannot insta radar. But if you run 4-point anti-air skill and planes come for you're gonna get so much value out of a CV game if the CV goes for you early. Yo, J-Town, thank you for the 11 months. Much appreciated. But yeah, the ship looks very, very cracked. How long is the radar? It's Brisbane radar, so you can buff it to 26 seconds, maybe? Something like that. I'm taking it on that. I think I'm taking both modules. Yeah, 26.5 second radar. Pioneer worse. Yeah, I mean, I would argue the only thing that's worse on Pioneer that really matters is the torps. Brisbane has some of the best. You could make a case that Brisbane has the best torps on any cruiser in Tier 10. Because I mean, they're basically GNAD torps that can hit everything. Brisbane torps are insanely good. Brisbane is especially useful in clan battles because of how much deterrence to pushing it has as well. Brisbane's very good in ranked too, because being able to shit out 20 torpedoes with 13.5 km range, and you can even hit DDs with them, is kind of crazy. So you do lose that, but your torps will let you YOLO people, right? You still have nuclear torps, they just only go 6 km. So, Why is it? Yeah. They're kind of the same torps. You can't single launch, though. Or no, you can. No, you can't. You cannot single launch. But you can widespread. So, overall, I mean, way worse torps. Obviously, overall, way worse torpedoes, right? Guns are basically a wash. Brisbane guns probably barely better due to the extra range and turret traverse. But then Pioneer gets a way better hull, way better. See, my thing with Pioneer is you don't need the super heal because you don't get point and click by everything. That's kind of a big deal, guys. Not being overmatched by half the cruisers in tier 10 is kind of a huge deal, I would argue. You know, that also makes you a lot more resilient to gunboats, right? Because Plymouth has 19 and 16 plating. So, like, basically all destroyers can pen it everywhere. But Pioneer is going to have 25 plus platings everywhere. So it's going to be a lot more resilient to just getting gunned by gunboats. Like, there are certain ships that Brisbane and Plymouth, like, just literally cannot fight. Like a Kleb, a Kaba, a Gdansk who can aim. Like, those ships cannot fight those boats. You know, a skilled Gdansk player kills your Plymouth for free. Same with Kaba and Kleb. Any high DPM railgun shell velocity HE spammer gunboats can like really fuck up your Plymouth or your Brisbane. And this thing will shatter most of that damage coming in. It's kind of interesting, but yeah. I mean, I would say, you know, yeah, very interesting ship for sure. I'd say that's, you know, kind of I would say that's the one, you know, the one to get. Yeah, well, I mean, Kaba is obviously like an extra disaster because Brisbane doesn't even like, yeah, Kaba's probably the worst because it can't hit it, and when it hits it, it doesn't damage it anyway. Yeah, kind of a disaster playing your Brisbane into fucking Kaba is a disaster class for sure.